What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Chromecast. My name's Joe, joined here today by a squiggly man. Squirmy man.
Hey, I'm Squirm. Squirm pain. No, I'm have to get used to not have my big white knees up in the camera.
Yeah. You guys wore shorts today.
I'm German, so I'm white.
What's your excuse, Gabe? For you
what?
German?
For what? For wearing shorts?
Yeah. Or having white knees.
We're playing golf today.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great
It's
excuse.
84 degrees
I wear
outside.
shorts every minute I can.
Yeah.
But,
He does.
yeah, for podcasting, it's not the best
You're going
look,
to have to
so
dial back the
I'm
exposure.
keeping the
on.
knees down.
So
avert your eyes.
So anyone watching on YouTube, we are trying out a new switcher today. We've actually had a version of this before.
Yeah.
The ATEM, we had the ATEM Mini, and from Blackmagic and I should clarify, Blackmagic Design.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a satanic company.
No.
This isn't any sort of.
They make
yeah.
DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah, they
Isn't there like a car wax called Blackmagic too?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the same company.
Yeah.
I think.
Maybe.
Wasn't that that club back in the day too? Wasn't it called Black? No, there was a spin. That was Spin
Oh, yeah.
Magic. Spin Magic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we have the ATEM. I'm guessing it's ATEM. That's the one. Dude
I always
said
thought
on
it was
the video.
Atom.
Atom.
But ATEM.
Everybody on
A10.
every video we watched,
think
because
it's
we've had to
A10.
watch a lot of videos about this
Is
stinking thing.
a robust
ATEM?
ATEM.
Okay.
ATEM.
ATEM.
So
is
we
what-
now
how
have the
everybody
ATEM
refers
Mini
to it.
Pro ISO.
It's got to stand for something. right?
And these things, these switchers, well, Blackmagic Designs makes all sorts of. I mean, they make DaVinci Resolve, which a lot of professional editors use, but they make all sorts of different switchers and transcoders, and they make HyperDeck. They make all sorts of streaming stuff. So this tool is very performant. It has a lot of things it can do, and it's hard to figure it all out.
Yeah, it's not the most
You got to watch some YouTube videos.
Yeah.
well formed UI experience.
Yeah.
The UX leaves something to be.
And it's like, anytime you get something like this, it has so many features, and you can do so much with it.
Yeah, it's almost like that. There's something to professional hardware. It's almost like Gabe and I have dealt with mixing boards over the years,
Yep.
especially as they move towards digital setups and stuff. Like,
Look, I totally forgot to switch anything.
Yeah.
Look, I'm switched to
it'll
you
take,
now.
It'll take
a
bit.
minute.
But you can do it in post. You can fix
Yeah,
it later.
exactly.
So that might not even be a problem when you
Right.
watch it. You should leave it though, since we referred to
I know,
it.
right.
The problem needs
I will.
to stay. But yeah, the like professional level equipment, especially sound equipment, seems like they give it to you and they expect you to know what to do with
Yeah.
it. There's just not a lot in the way, and even the manuals that are provided are very difficult to understand and just
Yep.
it's not clear. But it's function over form 100% of the time. Like, it's not about it looking good or having some sort of, I don't know, great experience as you unbox it. Like, it take the idea of Apple or Google hardware and literally flip that around, do the opposite of all the things that they would do with something like this.
Right.
And that's what we have.
And
that's it works.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but that's why. And I mean, I found that out quickly when we got this latest board that we have. People go to school to be sound engineers.
Oh, yeah.
It's not. I mean, I fancy myself a pretty handy fellow. My wife said that's why she married me, because I'm nifty. It's a word, but
Nifty.
Nifty.
He ain't handy. He's
yeah.
nifty.
yeah. I mean,
Is nifty below handy?
I'm not sure.
I think nifty.
Probably.
Nifty's more like a
I think
pocket.
nifty's more horizontal. Handy's more like useful. I don't.
Nifty's
Okay.
like the thing you get out of your pocket. And you're like, man, I can carry this thing in
Oh,
my
that's
pocket.
pretty
It's
nifty.
Yeah, it's nifty that it does that. That's pretty cool.
Great. That's
It's not the best knife I
You're
can
below
buy.
handy.
Whatever. I'm
You're
rebuilding
you're-
my deck. Shut up.
Yeah,
useful.
I'm handy.
Yeah, you're very useful.
Okay.
But
Audio.
trying to learn, because this was a brand new board that's all digital and it has all the whatever. Just trying to figure out how to even get the inputs and the different everything. It's not something you can just sit down and, because even if you try to read the user manual, that doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
It tells you nothing that can help you translate how to use it.
It tells
Right.
you deeper technical things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That if you didn't understand it to begin with, it's not going to help.
So anyone who's gone to sound engineering school, kudos to you. You should be like they should get
Or
a
lighting.
PhD.
Lighting's the same way.
PhD
Like
Lighting.
professional
for that
lighting,
stuff.
same way.
Yeah. But this thing, I mean, this thing's super powerful. We're gonna try it out. We're gonna figure it out. For this setup, it's I say pretty straightforward. Fairly straightforward.
It's only taking us, 4 hours worth of messing?
I took it
working.
There's another application that we're going to be doing with this for Proof Golf where the projector that we have is not 16 by 9. I don't know what it is. Is it 4
by 3?
4 by 3.
I mean, it's 16 by 9.
So we're going to have...
We're projecting 4 by 3.
Right. So it's gonna have bars on the side. So we're going to have to figure out some different... Because you can do all this stuff in their control center, like their software control. But we can't figure out how to connect this thing to the Mac to do those things while also recording to the hard drive because there's one USB-C output.
Yeah,
there's an Ethernet that they say you have to connect to the...
That's going to be what
we're going to have to connect it to the network.
Yeah.
Right, which is weird.
Seems real silly.
But anywho, we'll figure it all out. But we're going to be experimenting today. I can, boom, switch to Robbie, take a sip, enjoy it.
Kids.
Right.
Drink coffee.
Back over here, boom.
Joe took our microphone arms.
That was y'all.
That was my idea.
Robbie said to do it. I didn't suggest that.
Once we move to the living room setup, I'm all for holding the mics.
Yeah,
I wish they had like standard Shure SM58 size mics that sounded like this.
Oh, yeah.
Because those are just more comfortable to hold in your hand. These are weighty.
Yeah, they are.
But it's more comfortable to me than having this arm that was like in my
up in your face.
I felt like I was in a dentist chair or something.
Right.
I feel far more comfortable now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna find all kinds of cool ways.
Yeah, I think you should hold it there. I think you should hook it with your pinky. Yeah, yeah. Just a full hook grip there. I like that.
My finger might break there.
So, all right, housekeeping out of the way. We have a new kind of setup here. We've got a monitor over here. So I'm gonna be
the lapel.
Get some bicep curl.
Trusty lapel.
I know while we're podcasting.
So I feel like this needs to be more centered. I don't know. We're gonna figure it all out.
Fine. It's all fine.
We're rolling with it. Let's get on to some news from the week.
As everyone listening is saying, like, shut up.
How long have you all been talking about nonsense?
So long to say nothing.
Let's first talk about the Fold because was that an I/O session that you were listening to? Or was that a podcast?
No, it was made by Google podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we embedded that podcast
interesting
on the
little
post.
tidbits.
I'm surprised that has stuck around. I thought that was going to be another thing they tried, and it was just like,
they don't do a bunch. They don't have that many episodes.
No, but they still do them.
You got some pretty formidable people in there that work on Google hardware, and so the thing that came out, there was a quote basically from that where they were talking about the hardware, Pixel 7a, Pixel tablet, Pixel Fold. Just the industrial design, the stuff that goes into that. It's a pretty cool conversation if you're into that stuff and trying to figure out like what it's like, behind the scenes, what these folks go through. Like the more of these reviewer sessions we go to for Chromebooks and stuff like that, like the more you realize the depth of difficulty that goes into building consumer hardware. And I suppose like them being more transparent about that stuff, this is a side note, but them being more transparent about it, probably I would hope, reviewers that have a shred of humanity in them look at that and go, oh God, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How much it takes for you to have put this thing in a box and put it on a shelf to sell it. Like that's not, I didn't go carve a piece of wood and hand it to you. Like it's this multi-level, multi-year, just insane process. And so when I see that, I'm just like, oh, well, if it doesn't have perfect XYZ, like, of course it doesn't. Like, look at this stuff.
That's what always got me when foldables first kind of emerged, and we had our first few iterations, and people were immediately on, oh, well, the crease.
Right.
This isn't like, oh, we've had this for 10 years. It shouldn't be this way. This is an emergent technology. What else do you have in your home that is glass that bends?
Not just bends, folds in half on top of it.
Yeah. Nothing. I mean,
and so like when you start talking about foldables, like when we talk about Chromebooks, it's enough. You start talking about foldables, the tech that's in the hinge, the tech that's in the glass and the display, the attention to detail that has to be there just to build the outward parts. Like forget how you split the battery and where are you going to move the wires between the other, like sides of the screen, and like watching Microsoft's thing with the Surface Duo and how they split the battery and then they've used the hinges to, pass some of the cables back and forth. Like it's just like, what? Like some of the projects, the small things that are being done in a folding device, a pocketable folding device, some of those things are something like that's that person's life's work for about a year and a half or 2 years.
Yeah.
That's all they do. All they worked on was a hinge that goes.
You remember when
And it
Samsung
took humans years to build it.
The 2 or the 1 when like a big portion of the presentation was about that sweeping hinge.
That was
Oh,
the
yeah.
2.
Yeah,
because
that
the
was the
first
second
one
one.
got dust in it. And
Right.
That was the problem. So
They were like,
we joked about it,
we
but at
put
the
some
same time,
brushes in here.
you think about
we created a broom on the inside.
You think about the R&D and the hours that went into figuring. Hey,
I mean,
we've
it's
got to
crazy.
figure out a way
Yeah.
to fix this so that it's not an issue. You know?
Yeah, and so I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, when you see that amount of work going in by, again, human beings, like, let's sit back and think of the last thing you created or built or made, and cut these people some slack sometimes. It's staggering, and that's not the point of any of this, but it is when you listen to these things, and the more you see, the more you realize, like, holy crap, like the stuff that's getting built that we go buy this box and go, okay, well, I'm gonna watch TikTok and look at my Twitter and check my bank account. Like, it's so easy to just forget what's going on, like what is in our hands. I mean, just a regular slab smartphone.
Yeah.
If you stop and start thinking about what is happening in the palm of your hand, is mind-boggling. And
even,
so,
like you said, even boxes, like even packaging,
yeah,
little things like that.
Months,
Yeah.
like getting all that stuff,
Right.
Like, and it's every little component that's in there. Like, it's not like you go to Walmart and buy the stuff off the shelf and put it together like a Lego. Like, it's all custom done, all of it.
Right.
Every bit of it has to be thought through, and how that's going to impact this, and it's
Yeah,
crazy.
and that's why we're
It's just
always
crazy.
so impressed and amazed when a Chromebook comes out and they've actually given it some good consumer packaging, because you just don't see that, and it means they took the time to say, we want this device to be eye-catching for consumers.
Right, and to look
you know?
good from the minute you open it,
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of thing. But yeah, back to the podcast. They talked about the fact that specifically with the Pixel Fold, that we knew there were other iterations of it. So the code names back in the day, you had what, Pit, Passport, and then Phoenix is what it, or is it Felix? Felix is what it ended up being. Felix is what it ended up being. But there were all these different iterations. There were different code names. There were different things it was being called. I think 9 to 5 probably had a source that was probably right on a year and a half ago that said it was going to be called. I think at first it went around the Passport, but then they said, we've heard it's going to be called a Notepad.
Yeah.
Maybe they were going to ship it with a pen. I don't know. It'd be weird to call it a Notepad and not have pen capability, but
And maybe
getting a
that's
pen
why it got
capability-
changed.
Yeah.
'Cause
they
like,
might have
wait
been
a minute.
look,
Yeah.
to get to where we want to get, like trying to force pen input on this thing isn't the best idea right now. So, because I still think the Z Fold with the S Pen, that you got to buy the special S Pen that goes with it.
Yeah.
That has the spring-loaded tip, and there's nowhere to put it because they're already crammed for space. And so, like, you carry around this big pen. What do you put in your pocket, or you buy a case that has it where it attaches on the outside?
Yeah, it's strange.
Super goofy. It's no good.
These are very soft screens too, so yeah, definitely don't press too hard.
Yeah. So, and so that maybe that's what it is. But clearly, they went through iterations. Well, apparently, they had a version of this thing that was ready to ship. Like, they were, ready for, like, let's tell people we're making it, let's do it. And they got it, and it just wasn't good enough. And so they pulled back, they scrapped it, and probably used most of what they were doing, but they, reverted and changed course and did something else. And so the product that we have now that is going to be, one way or another, we're hoping for a review unit. But even if we don't, I ordered one. It's going to be here at the end of this month. And it's like Christmas. Like, I feel like I'm a little kid waiting for Christmas because I've waited for this phone for so long. And the post I wrote about this whole thing, like, I remember waiting for my first smartphone, the Palm Pre. It was announced at CES. There's a whole thing about that. You should look it up. Go look up behind the scenes CES 2009 Palm Pre, and I think The Verge did a write-up. It might have been Dieter.
Probably.
They did a write-up about what was actually happening in the back. Just fascinating. Like, those guys had no idea. I mean,
Is there?
flying by the seat of your pants doesn't even come close to explaining what was happening with that. I wish
Did they
would
do
have
a
made
video?
a video.
I thought
No,
they. Yeah.
You're thinking of the spring.
Yeah, springboard.
Yeah, Springboard, the history.
Similar like that. It
Yeah.
was an absolute cluster, and so that was announced in January, and I remember specifically the Titans were 13-3. They had a first round bye in the playoffs. I remember sitting and watching that first playoff game. I was like, we are going to truck whoever it was we were playing. I think it was the Ravens. We're going to truck them, and it's going to be our year. Kerry Collins was the backup quarterback that came in, had just like this outstanding year. I like all these things that I remember very, very centrally. And then somehow I got keyed into what was happening at CES too. So I'm sitting on my couch watching this football game, and here's CES on. I don't know what I was watching it on. I didn't have a smartphone, so I'm guessing my laptop or something. And I'm sitting here watching this, and I'm watching the Palm Pre get announced. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah. What is this?
And I'm like torn between watching the Titans.
Which one do I want to watch?
Who ended up losing, which was terrible. But it didn't bother me that much because after I soaked up everything with the Palm Pre, I was so excited for this device. Because even then, I still had this like thing that I didn't want to use an iPhone. The iPhone was it was on its second iteration, I think, at that point. Yeah. And I just didn't want to do that. I don't know why. I don't know. I just was anti-Apple still back then. And so I was so excited to see this thing coming that was going to be like an iPhone, but not an iPhone. I was so excited. And so I get excited about it. Pre-Central launches, I start reading Dieter. That's where he kind of, but at least where I first started reading his stuff, he ran that site. It was my first tech site that I got into. It was the first time I started reading tech journalism and getting into smartphones and all this. I read it every day. I went to that site just to see what new thing, what new rumor, what new leak, whatever. And it was till June before the thing came out. And we knew it, but we didn't know for the first 3 months that he was even when it was going to come out. Like they didn't even give a date on it. They're like, coming soon. Whatever
they Googled it.
Yeah. And so
we promise it's coming.
No joke. So me and my wife are the weekend it's coming out. Me and my wife are going up to Cincinnati to visit a friend of mine from high school and going to watch a Cubs. He's a Cubs fan, but he lives near Cincinnati. Go watch a Cubs-Reds game. And that morning is the morning it's coming out. Well, I find there's a Best Buy 2 miles from his house. I'm going to go wait in line. So I drag my new wife. We've been married for a few months now, so she learned real quick what she got into. The two of us,
never stopped.
Yep, the two of us and one other dude. I still have his phone number in my phone. And I won't say his name on here just in case. But he was sitting out there with us. He was excited too. So the three of us got in. They only had 4 of them. And so on launch day, we did the whole sit outside thing, waited in line, got it set up. I got pictures of all this stuff with our Palm Pres. And that was my first phone. And that felt like an absolute eternity. Because, I read about the thing
tech,
every day.
it is.
It was in on it. And so I'm like, that's the thing. I've never waited longer with more anticipation for a device than that until this thing.
Right.
Like, because of the way that we follow stuff now and because of the way that things leak, I've been following and waiting. I've been thinking about a Pixel Fold since I saw the first Z Fold.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was like, that would be so cool if that wasn't Samsung.
It's really the reason you got the Samsungs, just to kind of prepare yourself for it.
I wanted to see. So that's been a while that it's been, marinating a little bit. But, I look back, we've been dealing with rumors, like pretty concrete rumors for this for a year and a half now at this point. I know it was almost 2 years.
Yep, almost 2.
That the first rumors, like it's going to use Samsung Glass or whatever. And so those rumors started, which means it probably began development 3 to 6 months before that, before those rumors got out. And so you think how long Google now, and that kind of wraps back into what I was talking about earlier, like these people who have been working on this piece of hardware, whether it succeeds or fails, have devoted their life to this for the better part of a few years now at this point. And I have never, ever followed, been anticipating and waited for any tech hardware of any sort this long. Not even close to this long. And so, like, hearing that podcast and hearing that they decided to, instead of just go, this is what we got, we need to get out to market, they were like, look, it's not better than the stuff that's out, so we're not putting it out. And we're not going to put it out there until it's better, until it's the best thing that we can build. And think about some of the things that Google has built with that kind of mentality.
Yep.
Pixelbook is the first thing that comes to mind. The Pixelbook was built on no time schedule.
Yep.
That no one was waiting for the Pixelbook. We knew that, like, Gabe had found something. It was Eve. Gabe found Eve and knew that we figured out, through events that Google was building something. But we didn't know what it was specifically. It could have been a partner device. Could have been all kinds of things. But it ended up being the Pixelbook, but we didn't know what that was.
And I'd have to go back and check, but I think like containers like Linux and stuff, they were developing that around Eve before Eve was actually a retail device. And then once it launched, I mean, you saw they did a whole video. I don't know if it was a series or if it was just like a mini documentary thing about if it was Norwegian but it was the European designers that they worked with for the material design, the design of and aesthetic of the device I mean, it was so thoughtful the way that they did all that.
And it stands up. Like you go pick up a Pixelbook right now and it's like,
I saw, and I'll say his name, James Welbus, the Chromie friend of ours in where's he at? Cedar Rapids. Yeah. He runs a co-working space kind of similar to where we're at, but he posted a picture on Facebook the other day. He was posted up somewhere working and still using his Pixelbook. Yep. I'm like, man.
I mean, other than the large
palm rests look like garbage, but I mean, that's not his fault.
The bezels and the palm rests. I mean, and I think with the bezels even, they were probably trying to create something where in a tablet mode, there's plenty of room.
Yep.
And they probably could have fixed that a little bit. But other than that device still stands up as this, I don't know. I mean, we have a picture of it on the wall over there, and I look at it, and I'm like, there's nothing like it. Yeah. There's just nothing like it.
Very thoughtfully designed and put together.
And this is a device that the same company is producing in the Pixel Fold. So the attention to detail they've had in this, I feel like is going to be present in the Pixel Fold. Mm-hmm. The early hands-on, like no one ever, not one of those early hands-on people grabbed it and was like, I don't know about this. You know, people talked about the bezels a little bit, and most people said it's not that big of a deal.
Yep.
But no one picked it up and said, it doesn't feel quality, And
that's all of their hardware. Like, every event we've ever been to, they always have a little segment on how we designed this and how all the Nest products, all the previous Google Home products, anything that has fabric, all that stuff they talk about, how they went about the process of designing this and what they were going for with the aesthetic and the feel and just the the feng shui of it when it's in your home, good or bad, whether or not the products will flop, their design is impeccable.
Yeah, so it really makes me believe that when this thing shows up, it's not just going to be another folding phone. Mm-hmm. Like it's not going to be like they've thought enough about it and they've cared enough about it during the development of it to scrap a version of it, which I can't imagine what that would even be like either. I can't imagine.
Yeah, because it's not like they scrapped one. They probably had 1,000 of them.
But I mean, still getting to the point where you're like, I think we're there.
Yeah.
I think we're there.
This is the one we're going to
passed around. Yeah. You're like, nope, we're not there. And we still got a ways to go. And like, that's bonkers to me, but it means that there's an attention to detail with this device that I feel like it's going to go above and beyond what we've seen from Google in the handheld space. Now, granted, I'm not saying that the Pixel 7, 7 Pro didn't set, I feel like, a new marker. Like the 6 was a move in the right direction for sure. Right. Before that, I feel like they were making really good hardware that they wanted to keep the price down on. So it didn't have all the premium stuff. The 6 kind of changed that momentum, and then the 7 is cleaned that up even more. But I think to devices like the Pixelbook, the Pixel Slate, as sideways as that thing got, the tablet itself, when you pick it up, it's like a work of art.
Refined.
Yeah.
It's very refined.
The way they got the speakers to sound like that is still bonkers to me. Like it sounds better than any other tablet I've ever picked up. Mm-hmm. The perfect weighting in the center. It's like they did all that and then forgot to make a keyboard. And we're like,
oh, darn it, we have to. Yeah, there's something. I remember that one Post-it note that we put and
when does it
fell
launch?
off. And
2 weeks, we can do that. Put round keys on. People think we really thought it through.
Yeah.
Like the keyboard was just a mess, and that was part of the problem with that device. But the tablet itself was
amazing,
remarkable. Mm-hmm. We still have one in there, and I'll pick it up and just like, this thing's great. And it really is. It's a shame, it was so close to being awesome. Like there are a couple things we could talk about that it needed, but but I feel like it was rushed.
Right.
I feel like they had this agenda and this deadline.
Got to get it out. Yeah.
If it had 6 more months or 8 more months to marinate a little bit, I think it could have been amazing.
And I'd love to know, and I don't know if they would ever tell us, but you remember when we were there at the launch event and we were looking at it, I asked the guy at the table about a certain code name, and he just kind of brushed it off because there was another device that was being something. Because there was Nocturne. Is it Nocturne?
Nocturne's what it ended up being.
Yeah, whatever the Meowth.
Yep.
So that's a Pokemon.
How you guys
that's a
remember this stuff is
Pokemon
amazing.
because my kids love Pokemon. He was very, very just like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. You know?
Like, yeah, there was definitely
they
another device.
scrapped something. Yeah.
And again, I don't want to paint Google as like the perfect hardware manufacturer. Like they've made plenty of bungling mistakes. But I feel like on the devices where they've allowed themselves to take their time, they've built things that are special, like that are really honestly special. And I feel like because of this now, because I now know, okay, you took your time and took it to the point where you pushed back launching and talking about this publicly to build the thing that you wanted to really build. Now, does that mean the Pixel Fold 2, if they make it, will be all the moves in the right direction? Maybe not, you know, because now you're on a timetable. Like the minute you said, here's this thing and we're going to launch it, you're on a timetable. But everyone will expect next summer Pixel Fold 2. Like, and that's stupid. That's on us as consumers for shoving manufacturers into this ridiculous timetable that doesn't even make any sense, honestly. You know, when we look at
a new year, you get a new phone.
The OEMs have created that, though.
That's what Apple Steve Jobs said, and that's what we do.
I mean, Apple did that. People started expecting it, and now instead of being able to be like, hey, that's unrealistic and kind of dumb, you know, that's just the cycle we're in. And it's like, if they had more time and or released it when it's ready, just make it until you look at it and go, yep, this is ready, and then release it.
But I hope that by getting off on the right foot, like they took their time to get started with Fold 1 being this refined and well done product, that then they can start iterating on it rather than getting started on the wrong foot, and then it's like, let's try to fix it all.
It's like the Pixel Watch. I mean, then I don't care what anyone says. The Pixel Watch for a first iteration is excellent.
Yeah.
It has a couple things, and it's really not... Any hardware has things. Any first-gen hardware has even more things. Pixel needs to get better, or Google needs to get better at supporting their hardware is the problem.
Yeah.
The device itself is
a whole other
great, and if the Fold is that good...
Yeah.
And I really think it will be. And the Pixel Watch is another example of this whole thing of like, they released the Pixel... Should they have released the Pixel Watch sooner from a branding and marketing standpoint? Probably. Yeah. They probably should have. Wear OS would probably be in a better spot if it were. But they probably didn't start until they thought, ooh, we probably need to put out our own watch. Yeah. And then by that time, now you've got how many ever years of research and development to build this thing. Well, now you're behind the curve.
Yeah.
But instead of rushing to get a watch out, just to get a watch out, it feels like they took their time with the Pixel Watch. I hope they did. I hope that timetable was not what they thought was best.
Right.
Because it was clearly late to the game, as it were. But that's okay if you release a great product. And the problem is most people think, because manufacturers are on these fabricated timetables, that they're going to release products that are done too quickly and usually come with some set of bugs or problems. And that is the case most of the time. But these handful of devices that get released, and you're usually first-gen devices, because, again, once you put the first-gen out, guess what? We wrote an article about it. Like, we're expecting. Where's Pixel 2? Why don't we have any rumors yet? Because we should have Pixel 2, Pixel Watch 2.
Next
day.
Be
Pixel Watch 2. And then in the fall, it's got to be Pixel Watch 2. Now, I'm saying this myself, even knowing, like, it might be better for them to do it when it's ready.
Yeah.
Like, you got to have Pixel Watch 2 in the fall.
Because that's my thought. I'm like, Pixel Watch 2, Wear OS 4 comes out this fall, takes Wear OS hopefully to a new level. You've got the new Snapdragon 5, whatever, W5 Plus. It would be better, honestly, for them to wait until I/O to launch the Pixel Watch 2. Give themselves that extra 6 months. But October's their hardware event, and that's the expectation. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But hopefully, when the Pixel Watch 1 came out, instead of waiting to see how sales went or whatever, hopefully they dove straight in and said, all right, let's go ahead. Because the Snapdragon W5 wasn't released at that point in time, but it had been released to companies to develop. So hopefully they were already working on that.
Yeah. I would
and rumor has it will have the new Snapdragon chip in it.
Nice.
That would be a huge upgrade for sure.
So, and I mean, the other thing to think about here too is this phone. I think people are seeing that it is thoughtfully designed and well made, because there's a few colors that are already sold out, or what all is sold out as of right now?
So the white ones.
The white one's gone?
The day before I wrote that up, the 9 to 5 had reported the higher spec one was sold out. And I went and looked, and it was. And so that's what I sat down to write. And then I went and actually, luckily, before I got too far in the article, checked the Google store just to look. Because I was like, well, maybe something else is sold out too. Well, that one was back. So you could buy the $1,900 one with double storage. So it's 512 gig storage. It's back, but the white standard is sold out in the Google store. And I'm like, that's one of two things. I mean, it can only be one of two things. They didn't make very many of them, and they sold out. Or, they made the amount they thought was correct, and there's higher demand than they thought.
Being well received.
Because the interesting part of this is most people, I would be most people on this, would wait for your carrier to get it and go through that, because there's usually incentives or whatever.
Trade-ins or
trade-in
whatever.
stuff, and there's just different ways to do it. I wanted to wait for that, but when I saw the other one had gotten sold out, like, again, I've waited for a long time for this device. I wasn't playing. Like, I'm just like,
the fact that you waited this long is kind of impressive.
I wanted to wait on T-Mobile. I wanted to see what they're going to offer, and they may still offer something awesome and some crazy trade-in deal that
we'll do a road trip on the day it releases. We'll drive up, and I'll get the one at the T-Mobile store.
And honestly, if T-Mobile comes out and says, "Hey, we've got this crazy trade-in, and it's a phone that I can get or have access to," I'll cancel my my Google store order and go do that instead. If it's obviously financially beneficial for me to do that. But I wanted to go ahead and lock something in, because my fear is with a device like this, I guarantee you there's no way that they're manufacturing these in the kind of level that like the regular Pixel phones would be. So that means once they go out of stock, it's going to take a little longer for that production.
Well, that and like our T-Mobile store, I think the 7 Pro, they only had, the day it launched, I think they only had like 5 available. They may not. Our T-Mobile store in a town the size of ours, they might not get a fold. We might have to drive to Louisville.
Yeah. So,
but also, like, how many people are actually going to the store the day up? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of interest around this phone. I just don't know how much interest when it comes to actually plunking down the money for it. How much interest there is. I don't know.
Because the price is going to deter a lot of people.
You can get real excited. Like, even when I was clicking
something like the OnePlus, we're like, surely no one else at E-Town cares about this random OnePlus, and then we show up and there's like 4 people in there waiting for this phone. So you just never know.
Yeah, I remember that.
That guy was like, he's a Tesla.
Yeah, he had a black Tesla.
That was nice. He got. He's
like,
I'm
really the OnePlus. I'm like, that's what's up.
Yeah. So one other quick kind of Pixel related news. The Pixel tablet, there's, as of right now, there's no pen and keyboard that comes with this device that is available to purchase. I mean, there's second party stuff, but
we talked about the weirdness of it not being there on the podcast last week.
I don't remember.
Like we did.
I'm still very shocked that
But what did you write the article about it? Maybe a pen and keyboard.
Yeah, so
getting made.
There is rumor.
Yeah, I don't know. Where did the rumor originate from? I don't know.
It was shoot. I'll butcher the name. So noted leaker on Twitter. And she didn't even say it was a leak. Like, she wasn't like, I have inside information.
Right.
She just put in quotes, Pixel tablet or keyboard for Pixel tablet or Pixel tablet keyboard, and then did another tweet, Pixel tablet pen or something like that. But she also doesn't usually put stuff out there that's not really reliable.
I don't.
So I don't know. I don't know why that was done. Speculated that, and she did say in a tweet down low that they were behind schedule on the development of it, and that's why it wasn't announced. And that maybe
I wasn't shocked that there wasn't a tablet, a keyboard accessory for it. Then after our 15 minutes with that Lenovo Tab Extreme, just reinforced the fact I don't think they need to make one. And most of the articles I see going around are saying Google's done what Apple and Amazon should. This is what a mid-range tablet should be. I am shocked that they didn't get with one of these third-party pen makers like Penoval or someone, and just, hey, white label us a pen and put a G on the side of it, you know?
Yeah. And maybe
whoever made the Pixelbook pen.
Yeah, maybe they have that coming, but it'd be really weird for it to launch a month or two after the tablet. But I also think when they were building this tablet, their thought was, it's going to have the assistant, and it's going to be your Nest Hub thing and a tablet, and then AI came and just blew up the hole in the side of that wall, and now it's kind of like, oh, it docks, cool, like there's a home control thing, which you pointed out. Was it on the store, Google Store, or where was it? You were like, there's no mention of assistant or home in any of this stuff.
All of the Nest. Was it the Net?
Is it on the Google Store, though?
It's on the Google Store. All of the Nest Audio, all of those, they all just refer to them as like entertainment packages. None of it's referred to as assistant or smart home or anything. It's like, get this speaker bundle.
Well, I wonder if they're just deciding, like with this stuff, hey, there's this whole Matter thing where it's all going to work, together regardless of who builds it. And let's just be another company that builds, home-related hardware and not try to create our own ecosystem around. Like, we got to let go of this. Especially if we're letting go of the assistant a little bit, like most of that's gone. Well, here's the problem. That was the main draw of the Pixel tablet. Like, that was the whole thing. It's got, you dock it, and it's got the whole dashboard where you can control your house and all that stuff. It'll still do that. It's still going to do that. But, what's stopping all those home controls coming to any other tablet? Like nothing. I'll answer that fast. Nothing. It needs to come to Chromebooks.
That Tab M8 has that. That's the ambient mode. Actually, any
built into Android.
Any Android device that will go into a docking mode per se will do that. It's just all it is Google's ambient mode is all it is. So, Chromebooks technically should be able to do it.
And it's like, so now that you've removed some of the smart displays, because that was it, man. That was like, I felt like Google beat the crap out of that subject for a long time, like at CES and stuff. I'm like, so I just never got into smart displays. I just didn't care
their
about
entire booth was dedicated to that.
Oh my gosh.
Was it the last year we were there before COVID or the year before that? That's
that was
all
it.
It was.
It was the Google
Come
Assistant
see our
booth.
300 plus third party Google Assistant products, and now they're not supporting third party displays anymore.
No.
And it's like,
it's a weird spot hardware wise, and so because of that, like, I feel like the Pixel tablet's launching to a weird spot. Nobody else seems to think this. I'm not seeing this opinion a whole lot on the internet. So maybe it's going to be awesome. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully when we get one in, we'll use it and be like, oh, this is pretty rad. I love this thing. I don't know. I don't use tablets that much. I wrote a piece about this, and it did pretty well about that Lenovo Extreme. It is a gorgeous piece of hardware, and holding it feels like holding the future. If it could be so ridiculous. It's like, it's super thin. Like, it feels like you're just holding a display that has nothing in it.
It's like a slab of glass.
Like, what is this? Like, it's crazy. And I'm sure I haven't messed with a lot of the iPad Pros, the newer ones. They're probably equally great to hold and use
thin
and stuff
and
like that.
light.
It's just like the high refresh rate on the screen, 14 inches. It's like, this is craziness. Like, this is so pretty. And then you put it in the keyboard dock, which is a great keyboard. Like, it's super thin on the bottom. And
the keyboard
firm.
is amazing.
And it's great keyboard. Like, but then you deal with Android on the desktop, and it's like,
this fool hands this thing to me and says, "Hey, try to write an article."
I just want you to write one article. Is all I want you to do.
Right.
Do your work.
It took
you research. Get everything
it
done.
took me 20 minutes just to
click
click some links.
He was mad
man.
in 15 minutes. Like,
Oh, dude, I don't get aggravated with tech that much.
So why is
it doing that?
So
I'm
break
like,
it down. Break it down. Like, what was it? What were the things that were happening?
So
I think it'd be easier to state what wasn't happening. Let's do that.
what went well?
There's no swipey, which that's a Chrome OS thing. I totally
the
forgot
three-finger
about that.
swipe between tabs, man. Once you get used to that, it's so hard not to have that. But
I'll do it
you
on
don't
the
have
Mac
virtual
all the time.
You don't have virtual desks on Android, obviously. Like, and so once you get used to that, you kind of miss that.
When you swipe up into overview, you can swipe the things away with the screen, or you can swipe them away with a touchpad. I think two-finger maybe
swipe.
But I'm a clicker guy. I like to click the X in the corner of whatever thing I want to close. It's not there. There's no X.
Yeah, you could click and drag it up if you want. Like,
that's fun.
It was unintuitive, is what it is. As a tablet, it was fine, but it was super unintuitive because at least Lenovo's take on it, and this isn't Lenovo's fault. I would blame Android in general.
Oh, yeah.
It did split screen, which is fine, but how you got to split screen was not readily apparent.
Yeah.
It had a little drop down from the top that you could, put your stuff in a split screen or 1/3. And once it was in split screen, it was nice to drag back and forth. I think split screen stuff's overrated. I think floating windows when you're on a desktop is the way that your mind best orients everything. And maybe that's growing up with Windows. I don't know. But there's a reason Mac OS, Linux, ChromeOS, and Windows all use floating windows, and why we still use a little pointing device with 2 buttons on top of it.
Yep.
Some things, when they get made the right way, and it's the right thing.
They don't
it's the
need
right
to
tool
change.
for the job.
Yep.
Changing it's no good. Like, you don't need to change that thing. It works. It does what it's supposed to do. We don't need a new version of that. And I would say mouse input and your basic gestures and UI and way that you move around a desktop setup should be replicated. Like,
Yep.
that's a thing. It's been around. God, I mean, Windows 95, basically. No, Windows 3.1 really kind of brought that on the scene. So you're talking, what, 30 years?
And that's why Linux, Mac OS, Chrome OS, Windows, they all mimic each other in so many similar ways because that's what people want and expect on a desktop.
It's no different than, me saying that I think Apple figured out gesture controls better on iOS and iPad OS than everyone copied them. You should have copied them. They got it right. That's the right way to do it. So don't go and try to do something on your own and make some other weird thing just to be different. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they get it right.
Yeah.
And you just stick with that. So I know there's like all these stories about Microsoft copied, like, was it Xerox or something crazy like that with the Windows? It was some company that makes printers now, I'm pretty sure, that had some sort of software that did that, and they copied it or whatever, and so it was a big hubbub back then when they first put Windows into play. Not the software Windows, but actual Windows on your screen. But regardless of who gets credit for that was done right. And because it was done right, that's the way it should stay, because it just makes sense. Like, iterate on how you move the windows or whatever, but don't just get rid of them. And so what happens on an Android device is you put a keyboard and a trackpad on there, and your mind's like, cool, this is like a laptop of some sort, so I should be able to go to overview and see my windows. Well, you see them, but you see them like you would on your phone. They're not interactive, and they stack themselves in a little grid, and there's no way to move them or anything. Like, I can drag them to one side or the other, and it's like, this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to now relearn the way that I would use a keyboard and mouse to interact with software. And so that at its base is the problem. And I would argue that unless you're ready to just ditch the idea of windowed devices, it's the problem you have on an iPad too. When you slap a keyboard on there, you need to relearn how to go about doing this. But they're trying to make some things better on iPad. But it's where I would argue that Chrome OS, despite some of its flaws and hiccups between desktop and tablet, kind of gets this more right by far than any other operating system.
And I think that's why until the next big evolution comes along or someone figures it out or whatever, productivity tablets like that, the keyboard and stuff is an appendage that it's like someone who's a graphic designer. My main interaction with this device is pen input, graphic design, things like that. The keyboard's just there for my little quick hit things, like I need to save a file or I needed to change a name or whatever. I can't imagine a world where that is my daily productivity tool as someone who types for a living.
Now, I did watch some videos before I wrote that article of the OnePlus Pad and how they're handling the multitasking. Does look a little bit more intuitive with what they're doing. I think they've copied a lot from what Apple's doing. So Apple, I do think, is attempting to say, okay, if there were no windowed computers and all you had was a tablet and a keyboard, like, what's the best way to go about doing this thing? I still don't think it's better than a laptop for being productive, but they're trying to think through those things, and they've figured some stuff out. Well, OnePlus basically just kind of copied most of what they did, and maybe Lenovo would have done better to do that. But regardless, I think there's just this disconnect when it comes to trying to get productive on an Android tablet right now, and it's super weird because you got more Android tablets coming out, I think, than we have in a while. Like even Amazon now, like their Fire tablet comes with a keyboard.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, I feel like we're shipping these things to people and like, look, it's keyboard. Yeah. It's got a trackpad on there. You
can get productive on this thing.
You can, but
can you though?
Yeah. It feels like what it felt like to me is I felt claustrophobic.
What is a computer? Was that the Apple campaign? Yeah. What is a computer?
What's a computer?
What is a computer?
Thing you're holding, dummy.
Yeah.
But the problem for me was I felt, I don't know how to get an apt metaphor for this. I felt like as if I was trying to watch a movie or watch YouTube through like the thing inside like toilet paper. What is that?
The roll?
The roll. Yeah. I thought there was a name tube, for it, but tube, whatever. Like if you're trying to watch content like this, can you see it? Yeah. I mean, I got to do this all the time if I'm watching like at a theater or something.
So you got some blinders on.
So, yeah, it's like I can see it.
You have a restricted view.
Technically speaking, yeah, I can see all the same stuff, but it's a very different experience than what this looks like. And so that's what it feels like to try to be productive on that, because everything's so like specific. Like I can only do the one thing at a time. Like, and where my other stuff is, I'm not quite sure, and I'm not really confident that it's even open or where I put it or where it went when I got rid of it on the screen. And so those are the types of things. It wasn't a specific like thing.
You should take it with you when you go.
Yeah, you should go try it.
Spend about 2 hours doing your admin stuff on there. See how it feels.
I would.
Yeah,
it's just weird.
That would not be fun.
It's no different. Imagine trying to do your daily work on your phone.
Right.
Yeah, you got a bigger screen, but that just helps you see what's on there better. It doesn't change all the thing where you're putting your stuff. Like it is this very closed, myopic kind of view of computing. And if that floats your boat, I guess go crazy. Yeah. But it makes a device like that Lenovo interesting because as a tablet, while it feels futuristic and amazing to hold it and look at its screen and listen to its speakers still don't sound as good as a Slate.
Yeah.
But all that kind of stuff, and hold it and be like, wow, all this tech is in this little thin thing. Wow, this is really cool. But at the end of the day, I don't really want to hold that thing all the time. It's huge.
Yeah.
Like it's the size of it's like peeling the top off your MacBook over there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't want to carry that around all the time. It's not great for like one-handed content consumption. But then when I dock it, and it looks really futuristic and awesome because it's got a very iPad-esque, the floating thing. It looks gorgeous. It just looks awesome. It makes you want to use it. And then you start using it and you're like, ooh, closed.
Was performance good?
I thought so.
Yeah, I mean, that Dimensity 9000 is.
Yeah. Some people were like, oh, you can't game on it or whatever. I put.
But I mean, speaking of the OnePlus is quite a bit smaller, but it's what, $600, $500,
$479. That's the keyboard.
With the keyboard, same chip. The Lenovo with the keyboard is like $2,000, $1,400, $1,500, something.
It's like $1,500. Yeah, I think it's 12. No, it's like $979.
Yeah, it's $1,000 for just the slab.
So you really got to want to like use this thing as a consumption
for that much money. Like you could buy some nice laptops.
Right.
Oh yeah,
nice laptops.
Yeah.
So it's super confusing. Probably why it doesn't seem to be selling all that much, or have that much. Like there's not a whole lot of media out there about it.
iPads have over the years sold like hotcakes for the most part.
Because they're iPads.
What's an entry level iPad cost?
Right.
The newest iPad
you can go get
$300,
$349, something like that.
Yeah.
And then you can get the iPad Air, which is kind of like the mid-ranger iPad for like $500-$600.
So
it's half.
You've got this little thing you have around, for half the price. You've got something around the house. Kids can sit and play games on it.
Right.
Yeah,
or you can go buy that Chromebook that just went on sale at Acer.
Oh yeah. With the MediaTek.
Yeah, for
$200.
$513.
514.
14.
Yeah, with
Campanio
828. Our review, we'll link it.
We were like, was it touchscreen? We didn't.
I thought it wasn't. I thought it was ours was not touch. And
there's
I'm watching
one
my
that
video.
is, and there's one that's not.
Yeah.
I thought the one we had was not touchscreen, and I'm watching the video, the review, because I'm just trying to refresh myself because I just remember liking it. Like, memory can be bad. Like, you can forget a bunch of bad stuff and just remember a couple good things. Be like, and once you see,
or
the device,
you blur it with another device.
Yeah.
I mean,
and so I was sitting there watching the review, and I reach up and I'm moving stuff on the screen. I was like, it's got a touchscreen. It had a touchscreen. So, but the touchscreen model is only $10 more than the non-touch model, and they're the same.
Yeah.
And they're $200 right now.
Yeah.
On Acer's website. Like, there's no Chromebook for $200 that I've even come close to heartily recommending like this. Like, this is the best deal of a Chromebook I've ever seen because I loved this Chromebook. Like, using it and reviewing it, I'm like, I hated sending it back. I even went in there and looked after I wrote it, and I was like, I'm gonna go check real quick to make sure.
No, it's smaller, but you can get the Duet 3 for $240 right now.
I would take this Chromebook over
the pen.
I would take this Chromebook over
Okay, and 8 gigs of RAM
for general like productivity.
Oh yeah, it's clamshell, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if I'm going to type on something, it's not going to be.
It had a good backlit keyboard, and it got ridiculous battery life. I mean, 12 to 14 hours of use. I would take it home over the weekends to use it, and I wouldn't take anything else. I would just take it with me and use it all weekend, and never even think twice about battery. It was really, really excellent.
Yeah.
And for $200, I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah. And is it only through Acer? We'll obviously link it down in the description and everything and on the website.
I don't think you can even get it anywhere else.
You might be able to find it on Amazon, but you're not going to get that price on it.
Yeah, because it was like $400 when we reviewed it.
$429 or something like that.
Yeah.
Which was always like, it's okay. Because I remember in the review, being like, for the price, it's still a good Chromebook.
Right.
At $200, forget
go
about
get it.
Like, absolutely, it's great. Like, I kind of want to buy one for myself.
Yeah, because you're still getting probably 6 more years of updates on the thing.
Yeah, because I think when we reviewed it last year, I said 7.5 or 7 years at that point. I said 7.5 because it was like March-ish when we reviewed it last year. So and it's a perfect example of we've talked about this timetable of devices coming out.
Affordable
right?
Chromebooks.
This idea that everything has to be updated every year. Well, no, it doesn't. Like that Chromebook is still, with the life cycle it's still got, it's fantastic. Like it's fantastic right now, just like it was then. It's ChromeOS, and so
affordable Chromebooks are getting good. The processors are getting good. They're standing the test of time, and for $200, that's a great device. One other quick thing before we wrap up here, we have to talk about the last firmware update for the OG Chromecast.
End of an era.
Farewell, old friend.
Yeah. It was a fun article, right, though, because you think about Chromecast, and we're like, oh, yeah, you've got a Chromecast. But Chromecast is so much more than just a device. I mean, it was the platform that the Cast protocol was built on, which for a long time it was, Google Cast, and you had devices that had Google Cast built in, then it had Cast built in, and then it just got Chromecast built in or Chromecast enabled. But the first device was the OG video dongle.
It looked like anybody's ever watched Voltron?
Yeah.
It looked like one of the keys from Voltron.
Yeah. So just a little HDMI dongle, you plugged it in and you cast it to it. It wasn't like the ones we have now where you have a remote and you can't install anything.
UI.
You can't. There's no UI. You just cast to it. So it didn't need a lot of storage or anything like that. But if you have one laying around and nothing ever happened to it, they still work just fine. It's a 1080p streaming device that cost $35 when it came out, which at the time you had, I think probably Apple's original Apple TV was probably available.
Yeah. I think it was a thing.
Yeah.
But there wasn't much else.
But price-wise, it was 4 times what a Chromecast costs, and then it laid the groundwork for, you have thousands. I think I put that in the article. You go into Walmart, Best Buy, any store that sells TVs or speakers of any sort, you're going to find something that has Cast built in. A lot of stuff I have around my house have Cast. I don't even realize it has Cast.
Some of them don't even tell you. And you look at the TV, it's like, I got that.
Yeah, it's just the thing. Most smart TVs have some kind of Cast built in. It's where Miracast probably branched off of. They probably used a lot of that.
I think Miracast was being developed about the same time.
Yeah.
But
so
that Google, was and kudos to Google for pushing Chromecast enough to get people to understand it. Like, it was tough to get like Gen Xers and baby boomer generation people to understand what casting was pretty difficult. Like in my personal experience, like what I ran into the most was like that generation trying to get them to understand you're not mirroring your phone. You are controlling a session, an internet session, an independent internet session where that thing is going and fetching the content itself.
Right.
You just have control over that session. You're not mirroring your phone. Like, you can leave. You can start the casting. You can leave.
Right, and that's what I've tried to. People had asked me, like, what do we need to buy for our setup here or whatever. We got Chromecasts for our church and everything, because a lot of people in the Apple ecosystem immediately say, well, let's just go buy some Apple TVs. Okay, well, number one, $200. Number two, it's got a remote that if you lose that, that's $100. But you've got to have an iPhone or a Mac device to use it.
Right.
Because I think they have changed their casting a little bit. It's like some of their stuff, if the service is on the thing, it'll go use that first.
Right.
But back in the day,
it was
everything.
lockdown.
It was always Apple AirPlay.
Right.
And so it was using your phone all the time. Right. Like the whole time, it was using your phone to show the thing on the screen. I'm like, that's dumb.
Yeah, but now you go buy a $19 Walmart on 4K.
Well,
you get a remote.
Those, by the way.
Yeah, you get a remote. You can install apps. You can do all that. Anyone that's connected to the Wi-Fi, whether they're on iPhone or Android or Pine phone or Windows phone or whatever.
Pine phone.
What is
ChromeOS.
Pine phone?
Never heard of a Pine phone? Yeah, it's a Linux device. It doesn't matter what you're on.
We should get one of those.
If it has Chrome on it or anything that has Cast built in, which most modern apps have Cast built, most streaming apps have Cast built in, you can just cast to it.
Yep.
And that's what the original Chromecast started. It started all of that. And 10 years later, almost to, not to the day, but 1 month shy of its 10-year anniversary, I think it was in July 14th or something like that, it got its last firmware update this week. So doesn't mean it's going to stop working. It's just not going to get updates. And Google does say, performance might slow down. And then obviously, eventually it won't get security patch. It might still get security patches for right now, but you're not going to get
Honestly,
firmware.
guys, if you're at that point and you're really mourning the loss of the Chromecast.
Walmart, baby.
Go get
Loosen the purse straps a little bit.
1998.
Go get you a 4K streaming thing that,
Is the on using the same Google
It is
TV
Google
interface now?
TV, yes. The
new
old
one
one said Android TV, but they've opened that up now. It is. I can almost guarantee you, it is probably. You probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between.
That's
the
why
two.
I want to go get one and see, because I'm curious. Because the Android TV, I've got the Android TV one. We use.
We
it
had
on
the
our TV
Android
upstairs.
TV one.
Yeah, we take it when
one
we
here
travel
for a little bit. didn't we?
It's Android TV is pretty close to the whole Google TV interface. It's not the same, but it's close enough that I didn't have to like relearn anything. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So, like there's a new one with Google TV. I'd say it's, if you plug them in and don't have the remote in your hand, and I'm like, which one is that? You probably aren't going to know.
No,
which is fine. Like Google doesn't need to hold, just like they do with Chromecast. Like Google does best when they let their stuff be horizontal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like let Google TV be installed on other third-party stuff.
yeah,
Let
because
other
it's all
people
about
worry
the services.
that stuff.
Absolutely,
Selling more Chromecasts with Google TV isn't doing any good, and they don't clearly seem invested in it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have a new version, or they should have done. We've said it 100 times. A Chromecast with Google, the Chromecast Ultra with Google TV.
Yeah.
Like, give us something that's got some juice in it, so we can install some apps and play games on it. I don't understand why that's not a thing.
And that's what, if they're not going to do it, they need to encourage the NVIDIAs and the other people to produce some new ones that have.
NVIDIA hasn't made a new Shield in like 4 years or something.
And it's
like
still a boss,
I'm
but
like,
we need companies that are
Snapdragon in there, baby.
building ones with
cool
more storage in them and better processors, because the Walmart one and the Google one both have 8 gigs of storage, which you only end up getting about 4.
Walmart making on Ultra.
Yeah, I mean, somebody just throw some, and I get it. Like, have your cheap one. That's fine. Have one that's, I mean, if they can get away with making any money with them being $20, you could make a bomb piece of hardware for $100.
Yeah, $100. Oh yeah.
And if it's $99.99 and it's really good, it's got 12 gigs of RAM and it's got a
pair any
Snapdragon.
Bluetooth controller to it. Play your games. Yep.
So you can play all your streaming games. So you want GeForce Now, you want Stadia.
Oh.
basically GeForce
Why
Now.
you got to bring up bad stuff?
Mine's still installed on my Chromebook.
I love GeForce Now.
I deleted the app off of
I don't mourn Stadia at all, to be honest with you. If I'm being fair.
I deleted it off of my Chromecast last week, though. Yeah. It's like,
GeForce Now.
Got to get rid of that.
But yeah, that's one thing. But like, yeah, let's if we're continuing to encourage Android developers to build for bigger screens, these are the bigger screens also. Like, make your app work with a controller out of the box. Like, think about those things. There's a new game we're starting to play called Farlight 84. Super new. It's been in development for a while, but
super fun though.
It is. It's kind of like Apex meets a bit of graphic look from Fortnite with more vehicles and some jetpack stuff. Like, it's fun. It's a good game. It runs on all sorts of stuff, and it's all full crossplay. Not like, hey, you can share your stats crossplay, but like, you can play. I can be playing on GeForce Now. We jumped in a match the other day and played it. I'm playing with a mouse and keyboard on GeForce Now. Gabe was on his phone, and we're in the same match. So that's possible, which is pretty awesome. But then I plugged. Let's see. I plugged the controller in with GeForce Now. It worked. There are no settings in the game for that. And then on my phone, it didn't even recognize the controller. So it's like the same game on all these different platforms. But like, they need to think through, like, if we're going to have this on a big screen, whether it's a desktop or it's a television screen, like, Android developers, if you're making games, keyboard, mouse, controller support, make them a thing that you do, and then figure out your servers on the back end. Like, I don't think Farlight's doing anything. Like, we jumped in a server together, it didn't matter.
No problem.
But as your player base emerges, Fortnite's done this for a long time. They have different platforms and stuff. Basically, everyone has to play up to whoever's on your squad.
Right.
So if you got a squad mate, and the most competitive thing is keyboard mouse people, guess what, phone guy? You're playing with keyboard and mouse people, so hold on.
Better get good real fast.
Buckle up.
Yeah, it's not going to go the other way, but like, they have servers that just do that. That's how it sorts the servers. There's enough people playing. There's an ability to do that, and instead of like capping these mobile games and saying that they're only good for phones, open this stuff up. Add keyboard, mouse, and controller support, and then guess what? When people start making these, things that can play games on TV that are just Android games, you'll be ready to go. Because I can't imagine that's not coming at this point. I just have a hard time believing that that's not going to be a thing, especially with streaming games.
Yeah, as more people continue to adopt, streaming games,
maybe everybody's buying streaming boxes. Like, someone's going to start making, a box that's, or NVIDIA is going to do it. They're going to make a box that you can install games on, and it's awesome again. And Android game makers, if they have their game already just ready for that, it's like, hey, go.
Let's make one. The Chrome Unbox box.
I was literally about ready to say the same
Chrome
thing.
Unbox.
Let's put an RTX 3080 in it somehow.
Chrome.
It's like in this huge bar behind your
My
TV.
Chromecast melted.
It's got fans and stuff on it.
It's got cooling back there.
It's a dongle. It's just a big one.
You have to bolt it to the back of your TV.
We should somehow rig your PC, your gaming PC, up to the back of the television.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's
television. The feet are like tipped up.
Check out my new Chromecast by Chrome
Let's do
Unbox.
that. Let's just get a bunch of gaffer tape and just tape it to the back of this Vizio.
Coming soon.
Oh,
we're speaking with some people in China about.
This is a quick prototype of our new,
super legit.
Our new streaming device. Oh boy! All right, well, we've got to go hit some golf balls. So I think that's it for today. We appreciate you all tuning in and listening and watching. If you are watching, this was our first attempt. Look at Robbie. Boom. Over at Robbie. Back to us. It's been fun. I feel like I was like trying to talk, but I'm also thinking about this. It'll take.
Joe's got that far off look in his eye, like, I'm listening. I'm waiting for you to stop talking, so I push the button again. You'll have it down. You'll be in conversations, not podcasting, and just be going like this.
Yeah. Camera B. People are like, what are you doing?
I wish he'd shut up. Switch off him.
I keep hitting this button over here. It's not doing
But
anything.
I think this will work. I need it. Like, I need that monitor somewhere over here, or just we use the big TV. I need to be able to glance quickly.
All we gotta do is order a couple HDMI's.
Yeah, a little mount for that would be fine. But anywho, it's been a learning process getting this thing up and running. But we're hoping to create some, make it easier to create video content for the podcast, but also doing some stuff with Proof Golf. So stay tuned. But speaking of, we're going to go try to film a few holes, maybe 6 holes.
So that's the plan
of golf. And
easy peasy.
You can go check out that content, proofgolf.com.
Find us.
Hopefully soon.
Proof.golf
Proof.golf right now. But Proof Golf on everything. Go check it out. Okay, we appreciate you all tuning in, listening, and watching. If you are watching over on YouTube, make sure, if you like this, I guess even if you don't like it, still do it. Go give us a thumbs up.
If you stuck with us this long, you like it.
Yeah,
you love it.
Thumbs up, subscribe, notification bell, all 3 of those. You do all 3 of those, you're a friend of mine. Yeah, so, and I love you.
Maybe if you do that multiple weeks, you can be a friend of mine.
Yeah.
They're gonna subscribe every week.
Unsubscribe, resubscribe each week. I need to know that you're dedicated.
All right, we appreciate you. My gosh. All right, we appreciate you all tuning in, listening, watching. Catch you next time. See you.